Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Bins, and I welcome you to another solution and walkthrough video for one of my Creeper World 2 maps called Next Step 8. Now, before we start, I'd like to add a little disclaimer that this is my upload run. What I mean by that is that, for the sake of transparency, I take my time to get through the different sections of the map one by one, and I will purposefully walk into some of my own traps as to show you how tricky this mission can be. So on many occasions, you'll be able to save a ton of time by multitasking. This video also doesn't show, not by far, the best possible score you could get. I might try to improve my own score in the future, so if you visit the Knucklecracker scoreboard for this mission, my time and score might actually be better than the one I'll be uploading in this video. That's that. Now let's get started. The mission type for Next Step 8 is Acquisition, meaning that it's not obligatory to destroy all creeper and enemy units in order to win. The only thing you'll need to do is collect all the holocubes on the map. Okay? When you start the mission, you'll prompt the opening dialogue. Dear mortal, welcome. My name is Bins, and I'm delighted to be your humble guide once again. I shall simply assume that this isn't your first attempt at one of my Next Step maps. If it is, I'd highly recommend you quit right away and start with the first one. Oh boy. Those were easier times for sure. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see you have access to all the upgrades and techs you could possibly want, but they come at a savage mission point cost. Grabbing them will equal renouncing any possible shot you'd have otherwise had at the high score. Indeed, if you look at the yield of each of these techs, you'll see that they come at an insane negative point value, so clicking and collecting any of these techs or Teknites in the room at the bottom to make the mission easier on yourself will chew up so many points that it won't be worth competing anymore. I'm not going to grab any of these items in this walkthrough, so you can see that you can make it without ever having to scroll the screen. Anyway, continuing. If you're just in it for the relaxing gameplay, by all means grab anything you'd like and enjoy the mission. Otherwise, as always, you'll have to work with what you find inside the treacherous maze. Any gateway never spawns more than one thing, so either dig packets, drones, or phantom spores. Never more than one. Oh, and let me give you this extra bit of info. After 10 seconds, there should be only one dig packet gateway on the map. Keep that in mind, okay? Creeper and anti-creeper fields run wild. You can enable the field viewer if you'd like, but let me assure you that it won't help you very much. Check the terrain, find out how to advance, save often, blah blah blah. This ain't your first rodeo. I'll be here to guide you along the way, and my pet hamster Antoine has especially made some pom-poms to cheer you on. Isn't he just the best? But enough chatter. It's up to you now. Good luck, my friend. So let's start the mission and look at what we've got. You'll see that you're in a pretty confined space. The first trap staring you right in the face is opening up the block between the Liberation ship and the rocket launcher. The block will release both a ton of creeper and anti-creeper, and it will secretly activate some fields that will destroy various units you need after a while. I fiddled around with this, and trust me, you don't want to go there. So instead, make your way around the bend and try to obtain the ore rig tech. The corridor at the top opens and closes at regular intervals, allowing only a limited number of packets to pass at once each time. By the time you break the block with the blue crystal in it, you'll release 5 drones that will immediately set course towards the Liberation ship. Don't worry, they're timed so that it will endure the impact. It's more even, all 5 drones need to hit the Liberation ship, because otherwise the solid blocks keeping it in place won't be able to be broken. You obtain the ore rig tag, which prompts the message, "First tech secured. Well done, hombre," or chica, I don't want to presume. You won't want to lose too much time advancing, because your rocket launcher is at risk of being wiped out once the shield breaks. So mine the ore and break the block as fast as you can. Once you've obtained the 4 crystals and the tech, you'll see that you have a comfortable energy reserve of 200 crystals to get the mission started. In the meantime, you'll notice all kinds of things blowing up in the background. The reason I do this, by the way, is twofold. First, it makes the mission more difficult. If you hear things exploding, you'll never be sure whether this is something in the background you don't need to worry about, or whether you've lost one of your units you can't afford to lose. But at the same time, this also allows me to set up some contraptions for later in the mission without you noticing what's going on exactly. When you make it through in time, the Liberation ship can start powering the rocket launcher. Since rocket launchers always target the most dense creeper within their range, it will start shooting up into the corridor rather than at the creeper immediately threatening the shield and itself. So be quick enough so that you can clear out both before the shield breaks. When the threats subsided, you might notice that I've selected this block for excavation, but the Liberation ship isn't sending any packets through the micro rift. That's because the path's sneakily blocked by a pinned dot of creeper hidden behind this drone. So the way to advance is by extracting the masses of ore deposits hidden in the walls. Build as many ore rigs as you can and the anti-creeper maker will automatically charge these in its storage. When done, hit Burst All to attack the creeper. However, you'll see that it won't be enough. There is an extra ore spot available to you by giving up on the rocket launcher, and that is in fact the way to go at this point. There is another one next to the micro rift, but you can't extract that yet because you still need the micro rift. The extra ore will be sufficient to overpower the creeper and open up the area. When the drone gives away, the path will now also be open for the enemy dig packet gateway. This will free a pretty quick drone that will take out the anti-creeper maker. I've tried to save the maker, but it shouldn't work. If you manage, let me know how you did it. We now have some waiting time until we collect the Teknite. You cannibalized the rocket launcher and anti-creeper maker to get here? Bold move, but well done. I like it. With this nanochip, you've obtained your first 2 Teknites of the mission. So, how will you use them? Will you invest them in a small upgrade now? Or will you save for a bigger upgrade later? You're the captain, you're in charge. Well, the block we selected doesn't seem to be breaking. The packet speed upgrade can resolve that. When you break the block, you'll notice an enemy dig packet move through the chamber and break the solid block by the rocket launcher. You can now supply the launcher through the back door, clearing the area and collecting both the crystals as well as the Phantom Coil tech. There aren't any phantom gates on the map, so this tech is quite useless, I'm afraid. Or is it? Isn't there any use to phantom coils other than defending against phantom spores? I'm probably just imagining things. Hey, at least you got some points and energy for it. We're definitely going to need this tech, but we'll get to that in a second. It's time to sacrifice yet another rocket launcher now, because it's blocking the path needed to advance. Extract the ore and make your way through the corridor. When you make it to the last block, you'll notice that the ore rig will suddenly stop working. I've pulled this trick before. It means the ore storage is full. Luckily, we have another Teknite that we can spend on a capacity upgrade. Now for a tricky bit. The amount of drones locked away is truly massive, 193 drones to be precise. If you simply let them loose, they'll completely annihilate the Liberation ship within seconds. So, how can you defend against this? You may or may not have paid attention to the fact that the Liberation ship still sits on an unbroken block that happens to contain Anti-Creeper. Maybe this is enough? And the answer is... nope. This is where the Phantom Coils come in. Since the drones have 0 health, it means they'll immediately explode upon impact with any unit. So let's try to congest the area with a Phantom Coil overload and see what happens. The drones have been thinned out considerably this way, but we're not quite there yet. However, if we combine the efforts of the coils and the Anti-Creeper block, then that will be sufficient to halt the rampage. You can now fetch another holocube that will congratulate you for it. Did you survive the drone carnage? Kudos, I'm proud of you. Now, you'll need a total of 60 ore stocked for the next section. Keep up the good work, soldier. You should now have 20 ore stocked at this point, but there's still more ore to be mined inside the walls. Time for another ore rig spam. The count is now at 50, which is still 10 ore missing. These are located next to the micro rift near the Liberation ship. You previously couldn't access it because you needed that micro rift, but this is no longer a problem. So lose the rift and get your remaining ore out of the wall. While we're mining, let me direct your attention towards the enemy dig packet gateway. It's been trying to break a block down here in case you hadn't noticed, but it's being stopped in its tracks. Keep this spot in mind for later. Good. That's that. Our next issue, advancing through the maze. If you enable the field viewer, you'll notice that there are some creeper fields active below it. Suspicious. Sure enough, if you break the block, you'll notice that the fields serve as carriers to transport creeper towards the Liberation ship. And... unavoidable mission failure. Sorry about that. So, what's next? You still have an unbroken block near the Liberation ship that you weren't supposed to break before. There's a lot of Anti-Creeper buried in that terrain, and who knows, maybe that's enough to counter the attack. Let's break both blocks at once and see. You'll destroy another micro rift in the process and fill up the right chamber with Creeper, but this is okay. You have no business in that area for the time being. The enemy dig packet gateway will also step in to remove the block holding another Anti-Creeper maker hostage, and as soon as you bring that maker into the light of the Liberation ship, it'll start charging those 60 ore you've got stored. When the charge is complete, bring the maker down into the corner and release its Anti-Creeper cargo and enable the repulsor further to the right. You'll need to put the Liberation ship in harm's way for this, but it should hold out. The only thing you'll need to endure is that wailing sound when the mothership is in danger. After a lot of waiting, wailing, and anxiously keeping an eye on the Liberation ship's health points, you'll collect the crystals, the nanochips, and ultimately, the beacon tech. Beacon tech! I always like me a good beacon. And you got some more Technites too. Life could be worse. Going strong, my friend. Keep up the good work. The pom-poms are flailing about. Oh, and the pro tip. In the not-so-distant to immediate future, you'll need a fully charged anti-creeper maker to continue. The available ore deposits aren't going to cut it, so you had best make sure to draw some additional AC from another source. Okay, so we're going to have to vacuum as much AC as we can. The most obvious choice is obviously the starting area, but you'll see that the anti-creeper maker's trajectory is blocked off by a drone. So however tempting it may be, you can't go there. Instead, you can already soak up the bit on the right while you place a beacon to gain access to the next area. As you can see, your packets won't make it there unless you invest in a new speed upgrade. The next holocube you obtain warns you for the upcoming part. Just a heads up, as soon as you break the next block, you'll be put on a kind of timer. Make sure to save the capsule and the bunkers, and salvage as many ore deposits as you can. We're going to pre-select some stuff in this area, and I'm also putting the blaster in the bottom left corner of the room to fire at Creeper only. You'll see why in a minute. If you enable the field viewer, you'll see some Creeper fields running in this area, and it'll become apparent what they do once the block gets broken. The room starts flooding, eating away at the eroding blocks and shields. It's tempting to panic and try all kinds of weird stuff to get the Creeper out of that room, but the truth is, you just have to wait. I will, however, set up the AC maker and the repulsor in specific locations. You'll need to be careful moving the repulsor out, but with smart timing, it'll make it. Now, wait until the bunkers activate. When the final blocks give in, you'll see that a dig packet comes out of the gateway and it will make its way to the block between the nanochip and the AC maker. This moment is the key moment to clear this section successfully. When you look under the terrain, you'll see that this block contains more anti-creeper than it does creeper. So as soon as the block breaks, we're going to move in the AC maker and try to vacuum as much as possible. The repulsor will prevent any anti-creeper from spilling out of the chamber. The aim is to waste as little anti-creeper as you can, so move the blaster up as soon as you can to prevent creeper and anti-creeper from cancelling each other out. Set the AC maker to charge to deplete the filled ore deposit and wait until you collect the survival pod and the reactor tech. Phew, a capsule. Would have hated to see this get lost. Do you have a fully charged anti-creeper maker yet? You'll need one. Well, we don't, but we're working on it. Truth be told, the capsule was never under any real threat to begin with. I'd just like you to believe it was. Next, you'll collect the reactor tech. Who would win? 21 Technites and a juiced up anti-creeper maker? Or a small corridor of creepy boys? If you don't get the meme, forget about it. Time to scatter the landscape with some cute little energy factories. The corridor of creepy boys is this one. You'll need to guide the anti-creeper maker through. But first, energy. Let's build some reactors to save on crystal consumption, shall we? Once the ore deposit is empty, you can vacuum up the remaining anti-creeper in the room and then mine all the remaining ore you have access to. You may then collect the 2 bunkers. These will provide you with some extra Teknites as well as some backup remnants in case you didn't manage to fully fill up the AC maker yet. The next issue we're faced with is how we can get our units out of this area. Both the path upward as the path rightward lead the units through drones, which will destroy them. However, pay attention to the fact that out of the 5 horizontal drones in this room, the middle one doesn't have a gateway behind it anymore, meaning that it won't respawn. I choose to use the Phantom Coil trick to destroy these drones. The AC maker is now free. Now, if you enable the rocket launcher, you'll see that it starts shooting here. The creeper here will always refill, meaning that you're wasting your time. In order to clear out other creeper, there will be exactly 1 spot where you can place the launcher. Make sure you don't accidentally lead it through the drones. You need to place the launcher far enough to the right so it doesn't shoot into the infinity corridor right here, but place it too far to the right and it'll start shooting at this pool instead, which will also infinitely refill with creeper. We want the rocket launcher to clear out the creeper in this intermittent field so our packets have a clear way through. But since rocket launchers always shoot at the densest creeper within their range, the launcher will start shooting here first. Clearing out this bit takes quite some time, but as I said before, you can save a lot of time here by thinking ahead and taking several of these steps at once. Once the creeper is gone, you'll need another speed packet upgrade in order to get the next block broken. The block will release a little pool of creeper into the small area below, and this is where the charged AC maker comes in. We're going to use it as a kind of conversion bomb, since anti-creeper makers drop their payloads when they explode. Time for a new save game. If you move the maker left, you'll see that it won't make it in time. All will be for naught. This is why you'll need the remaining 15 Teknites in your inventory to invest in a weapon speed upgrade. This time around, the anti-creeper maker will explode in the correct spot, and the creeper and anti-creeper will cancel each other out almost perfectly. You can now advance, bring the new AC maker to safety, and collect a few more crystals as well as the repulsor tech. Notice that when the drones impact on this particular spot, the anti-creeper doesn't diminish. This must mean that this spot is also endlessly refilled. Useful info for later. When you get to the repulsor tech, you're greeted by a message that says, "Well, ain't that sweet? You got yourself another tech. What could you do with this, I wonder? Maybe nothing for now, but I'm positive you'll need this somewhere along the road." The next problem is that your beacon's range isn't sufficient to let you advance. You can, however, relocate it more to the left. How, you wonder? Well, move the Liberation ship down 1 spot and rebuild the beacon in this particular spot. You now have enough light for the next section. Caution. You'll need to free the blaster first. If you go for the shield tech first, you'll destroy the anti-creeper maker in the corner, as well as the micro rift next to it. No good. So, make your way towards the L-shaped left side first. The blocks you'll be breaking here all release Creeper into the corridor. You could bring in the rocket launcher if it weren't for those pesky drones. You know, however, that you have an infinite anti-creeper field at your disposal, so try pointing a repulsor at it and watch the magic happen. You can then bring in the rocket launcher for assistance. Make sure it's positioned low enough so that it doesn't shoot into the next corridor, which is also an infinite creeper pool. You'll now be able to obtain some Teknites as well as another holocube that reads, "This is an anti-creeper dump spot. Should you ever have an excessive anti-creeper, feel free to dump it here and then I'll take care of it." How can you have an excessive anti-creeper, you wonder? You're probably right, one can never have too much anti-creeper. Anyway, I already built it, so it's there for you to use it if it turns out you need it after all, okay? You can indeed see that any anti-creeper that makes it into the corner gets slung into some parallel dimension never to be seen again. And trust me on this, we are definitely going to need this spot later. You'll eventually obtain another holocube, which lets you know that if you've cleared all creeper from this area, you may go for the shield tech. You now have a blaster at your disposal that you can use to guard the drone gate, meaning that we no longer need the repulsor nor the rocket launcher. You can now free the shield tech without destroying the micro rift. First things first, congratulations on getting this far. Secondly, where will you go from here? I would advise against moving rightward unless you're prepared to handle whatever's coming out of that gate. I'll give you a hint on how to advance though. Give the Dig Packet Gateway access to a micro rift. 3 strategically placed shields will let you do just that. But how? Think about it and I'm sure you'll figure it out. So first let me show you why it's unwise to break this block right here. It will spawn a slow but massively overpowered drone with no less than 6,000 hit points that you couldn't even come close to stopping at this point. In case you were wondering why I didn't move into this area yet, this drone is also part of the reason. Look at the doomsday scenario that ensues when you break the block. Right? So back to our safe situation. What's next? Well, the hint says you'll need 3 shields to clear the way for the enemy dig packets, and there happen to be 3 infinity anti-creeper pools in this corridor. That's where we'll place the shields. Look at how the anti-creeper disappears when you place a shield on these spots and reappears when you disable or remove the shield. Magic! Now for the next trap. If you place the top shield first, then the second spot will rapidly amass anti-creeper and it will flip into a situation that ruins the mission. The same thing happens when you place the shield in the middle position first. So start at the bottom. There's 5 million anti-creeper in this spot that'll disappear when you place a shield and instantly reappear when you disable or remove the shield. If you place the shields in the correct order, then the path should be free. So why isn't the Dig Packet Gateway doing anything? Well, if you search for a while, you'll find that there's still a bunch of anti-creeper hidden behind the micro rift that needs to be cleared first. Okay, so remove the shields again, and let's get the anti-creeper pushed out with a repulsor. The anti-creeper maker will start vacuuming, and the other anti-creeper maker will pump it out again. Since exploding drones also take anti-creeper out, including in adjacent spaces, you'll be able to remove all of the anti-creeper from the pin field. There we go! Rebuild the shields in the proper order, and this time around, the dig packet gateway will be sending out dig packets. These packets are clearly moving through the micro rift, but where are they going? Remember I told you before to keep this spot in mind? This is where the packets are traveling. They were being blocked off before, but that is no longer the case. You'll notice how the dig packets break the blocks, opening up 2 micro rifts and ultimately bathe this bottom section in anti-creeper. You can now move the Liberation ship down and move the AC maker through the micro rifts in order to soak up the area. Don't worry about the crying mothership, you'll have plenty of time. Now here's for another sneaky little bit where a little bit of carelessness can immediately cost you the mission. See, the next block in line to be broken releases a drone with a creeper payload. We can place a cheap unit in its way, like for example a reactor, to ensure that the drone doesn't hit anything vital. But make sure that you do not place it left of the micro rift. If you do that, you'll have a situation on your hands that'll deny you access into the area. Ultimately, it would also destroy the dark beam at the bottom. So place a cheap unit here instead. This will ensure that the dig packet gateway doesn't open up more blocks than necessary. Whoops, took out my shield too soon there. With a little bit of extra effort on your behalf to sufficiently clear the area of anti-creeper so all the marked solid blocks can be removed, you'll ultimately find that you have a new convenient spot to move the Liberation ship to. Now, pay very close attention. For this bit, you need to know about the Liberation ship's hitbox. The ship takes up 10 cells in 5x2. But only the middle cell in the bottom row is the actual hitbox. This means that this part of the ship determines whether it'll take damage or not. If this part moves through one of the drones, it'll be game over, like so. But if you avoid collision with the hitbox, you can safely navigate the ship past the drones into the lower section. From your new location, you can grab a few more motivational nanochips in the bottom right corner. We'll also want to take advantage of this new location to reposition the beacon so we can light further to the left. A suitable location is the spot where the blaster currently is. This way, you can obtain a new holocube as well as 2 dark mirrors. You get 2 dark mirrors going strong. Treat them with care, you wouldn't want to lose them. Indeed, we won't. Move the mirrors into the bottom right section, where we can then fire up our dark beam. Now, for another very treacherous part. The Liberation ship will send ammo packets through the shortest route it can find. When the packets leave the Liberation ship, the trajectory that the packets will take is set. Should the path be obstructed by Creeper after the packets have left, they won't redirect but smash into the Creeper instead and be lost. You probably know this already. What this means for our current situation, however, is that the Liberation ship will try to access this micro rift to supply the dark beam. Since this path is intermittently shut off, however, you'll notice that the supply to the dark beam is jeopardized. If you fail to keep the beam supplied at any point from here on out, it'll be game over pretty much instantly. To keep this from happening, make sure you disable the micro rift or destroy it altogether. Even though ammo packets now need to take a longer route to make it to the dark beam, the supply is constant and steady. The reason why you need to redirect the beam upwards, by the way, has to do with keeping the micro rift safe. If you enable the field viewer, you'll see that the micro rift is protected from oncoming Creeper only from the top, but not from the left or bottom. Lead the beam directly left of the micro rift to ensure its safety. When the column of blocks is removed, it'll be only a matter of time before the powerful drone is released automatically. You can now target it with the beam, however, which will be just powerful enough to stop it in its tracks. In the meantime, you can get a new holocube with a message that says, "Keep in mind that there is only one enemy dig packet gateway on the entire map." This message aims to make you notice that there are 2 idle gates on the map. They can't be phantom gates since there would otherwise be a phantom timer, and you know now that they're not dig packet gateways either, so they must be drone gates. They will actually only spawn after tackling this portion of the map and are needed to obtain the bonus crystals that will award you heaps of extra mission points. But we're not there yet. First, you'll be able to obtain the Anti-Creeper Maker tech. You've unlocked the Anti-Creeper Maker tech. I couldn't be more proud of you. I think even Antoine just shed a tear. No, hold it. It's just Aigu. Hold on, gotta clean that off. Be right back. Please continue. So, onward to the next section. We need to get our hands on the Nullifier tech hidden inside the block right above the Creeper emitter. Unless you're thinking of something I haven't thought of, pretty much your only chance of getting it is by overpowering the Creeper emitter by pumping tons and tons of Anti-Creeper into that room. You can set a vacuum maker on one of the infinity pools on top for an infinite source of Anti-Creeper, and can then start building producers in the bottom room so you can slowly but steadily remove all Creeper from said room. As you can tell, it can take some juggling to keep your Anti-Creeper Maker safe from harm, but ultimately you'll be able to break the block above the emitter and obtain the nullifier tech. So when you finally overcome this tedious section, the tech comes with a message that says, "Ooh boy, I bet you've been waiting to get your hands on this tech for a long time, am I right? Well, my friend, feel free to knock yourself out." Oh, one last thing. Really watch out with anti-creeper flooding the place. Don't say I didn't warn you. From here on out, the mission will get pretty darn challenging. I'll get to why in a minute. First, let's make use of the newly acquired nullifier tech to get rid of some annoying gateways, as well as both emitters in the room we're in. The drone gateway that the beam is shooting will require 6 nullifier hits to take it down, and you'll have to build these nullifiers behind the moving drone in 3 waves of 2. It is also here that you'll see that your crystal reserve will rapidly start to dwindle. It is therefore advised to build as many reactors as you can. Get rid of a few more drone gates. When the fierce drone and its gateway are taken out, you can disable the dark mirror so the beam shoots upwards, and continue with the next bit of preparation, which involves placing shields in 2 specific locations. Here and here. This setup has to do with the fact that you'll want to do everything within your power to keep the anti-creeper as contained as possible, with the aim of keeping the paths clear for the enemy dig packet gateway to help you advance through the mission. This is a lot harder than it sounds, because the slightest miscalculation in setup can cause anti-creeper to flood all over the map, resulting in a virtually endless cleanup quest, if you will, in order to get the paths accessible for the dig packets again. Now that we've made some preparations that'll help us reach that goal, we can actually continue trying to progress through the map. After we've put so much time and effort into filling our anti-creeper room to the brim, now we'll have to drain it again. After all, we need to clear the path so that the dig packet can move through and break this solid block from the bottom. This is the point where we'll make use of the anti-creeper dump spot you found earlier. We're going to place a buttload of anti-creeper makers in this area as to speed up the anti-creeper displacement as much as possible. I seem to recollect that earlier versions of Creeper World 2 had a maximum of 60 energy or ore output, but this update seems to have lifted that limitation. By building the anti-creeper makers one after the other, I save a bit on energy consumption compared to what it would be if I built them all at once. Keep in mind that under no circumstance we can afford to leave the dark beam unsupplied even for a fraction of a second. Eventually, you'll pump out the bottom room sufficiently so that the dig packet gateway can step in and remove the next block. You'll notice that the room will quickly overflow with creeper again. Not for long though. Shortly after, yet another block will be broken that will fully cover the room in anti-creeper yet again. Time for some more pumping. We'll crank up the output even more this time, separating the upper and lower section of this area with a shield. Don't overbuild, remember that the beam supply is pretty vital for your chances of success. This is why I'm only building so many AC makers at a time. Slowly and steadily, patience is your friend. When they're all built, I'm setting them to charge and wait until they're full. This is because I'm going to use them as anti-creeper bombs, just the way we did earlier in the mission. Remember? Here we go. The next block gets broken and it spouts a ton of creeper into the upper section. The anti-creeper maker bombs do their thing and keep the shield from breaking so that no creeper floods onto more delicate areas of the map. Collect the Teknites and vacuum the area again. This is to provide a way for the enemy dig packet gateway to start removing the bottom row of blocks. This will give you access to a second beam. Now that we've done that, let's place some more reactors and prepare to enter the next area. The nanochips we've collected cranks our Teknite count up to 32. This is sufficient for 2 beacon range upgrades, which will enable us to reach the top leftmost section of the map. The beam can effortlessly blast away all the creeper, allowing you to grab the 4 crystals. We then need the shield trick we've used before so that the enemy's dig packets can also move through. When the packets pass and you quickly disable the shield immediately after, you'll avoid the anti-creeper amassing and flipping like I showed you before would happen, and you can keep all your units safe. Another welcome gift, you can now collect the Microrift tech. Level up! Time to show the creeper who's boss. We're going to immediately place a micro rift on the spot where we picked up the tech and preemptively remove the ore from the block. We can also get out 4 new dark mirrors and use them to our advantage later. In the grand scheme of our mission, we're now working towards a situation where we'll be able to power and fire 3 beams into the bottom left area, 1 from the top and 2 from the right hand side. We'll need a very careful approach and a precise setup, as well as a calculated positioning and movement of the dark mirrors in order to both provide sufficient energy, keep all beams supplied, and keep both the creeper and anti-creeper from flooding the map. To this purpose, make sure you can remove the shield on the crossroads without accidentally spilling anti-creeper all over the place. We can now start freeing up the 3rd beam. Break the block and use the shield trick once more to allow dig packets to pass. This time around, it doesn't really matter much if the anti-creeper spec flips, because you have the beam to protect you. Whoops, that doesn't make sense. There, that's better. By the time you get the beam free, pay attention to the snake room. You are now on a timer. See, Creeper will start seeping through the blocks, slowly but steadily. You need to make sure that you get the area under your control before all blocks have eroded and the nexus at the end of the corridor is activated. Now this part is very important. Before you fire up the beam in the top left, you need to make sure that you relocate the beacon to 4 cells down of where it currently is. This is because you'll need to light the bottom left corner of the drone gate area to grab that final nanochip. By the time you get there, you won't have the liberty of cutting off the supply to the beam anymore, which is unavoidable if you try to relocate the beacon once you've fired up the beam. This is why you need to relocate the beacon now. You can then place a new micro rift next to the beam so that the supply is ensured. The nanochips suggest you invest in a full energy efficiency upgrade. You're going to have to fire up 3 beams if you want to do things properly. An energy upgrade, perhaps? That is exactly what I'm going to do. When the micro rift is built, make sure that the dig packets don't relentlessly continue moving towards releasing the drones, not until you're ready. So I'm disabling the second micro rift near the liberation ship while I continue with my preparations for the Nier 2 final section. time to relocate one of the micro rifts yet again, because this time I'm going to want to put the Liberation ship one row below where it currently is. This way we'll get the third beam within our range of light, and we can finally tackle the drone section. In order to keep the Liberation ship safe from harm, we'll need a weird mirror setup that can horizontally guide the beam through here. Another holocube down, another step closer to the finish. Indeed we are. Showtime. Now it is important that you don't have any anti-creeper blocking off the paths the enemy dig packet gateway can take, because we require it to break these two blocks, which it can only do sending packets in from the right. If the blocks can't get broken, then you'll be in a stalemate situation with the drones on both sides, which will ultimately result in the creeper seeping through the snake section and activating the nexus. There we go, the blocks are now broken. This will allow us to grab the last nanochip, which will provide us with the ability to level up the beacon range one last time. Almost there. Keep firing away at the drone gate and you'll eventually be able to destroy the left one in the corner. In the meantime, pay attention to the snake room. Even if you see anti-creeper moving into that room, that doesn't mean you're safe from harm just yet. Any anti-creeper entering that area will be guided towards the nexus. This will regularly result in the anti-creeper flipping into creeper, thus continuing the process of eating away at the decayable blocks. This is why you see me setting up a shield and 2 AC makers to guard the entrance. It's to avoid the situation getting out of hand. Ah, don't you love the sound of exploding drones? It's so satisfying. There, that's the first drone gate down. You can now free up the extra mirror and set it to fire the second gate. The drones come in vast waves with a brief off time between each wave. Take advantage of this time to move the mirror in position. There goes the second drone gate, finally. Pause the upper beam so you can get the next ore block mined and broken. aim your beam towards the emitter on the left. This is the emitter that's been fueling all the infinity creeper pools on the map, which means that you can now start taking out all the creeper with your blasters and rocket launcher. With the emitter gone, we can mine the ore in the next block. Now it's time to relocate the beacon yet again, but pay attention. The bottom right beam will be left in the dark when you move the liberation ship. You therefore need to make absolutely sure that that is not the beam you leave guarding the gate. The next setup involves clearing out all anti-creeper from the bottom left in order to provide the enemy dig packet gateway with a path to take out some more solid blocks. There it goes. Another holocube down, which reads, "You are so close now. Can you smell victory?"
Pay attention. You can collect the remaining tech and nanochips in the room above if you want, but they'll cost you greatly. The choice is yours.
Please ignore this remark. I put it in there, then changed the map, and then forgot to change the message to something more suitable. Stupid me. Taking out the last emitter with the adjacent drone gate is a breeze. You can collect the bunkers for some massive energy, ore, and point rewards, and you can also collect the last holocube at the top of the room. But wait, is that the last one though? Is this the last holocube you've collected? I don't know if you know this, but if you blow up one nexus, the other ones will blow up too. So, turns out there is one last holocube on the map, and it's all the way in the bottom left corner, stacked below the emitter. But you can't get to it. So what's the deal? I pulled this trick in one of my previous missions, so you should know what's going on. If a nexus explodes, it will turn anything in its blast radius to rubble, from soil to friendly and even enemy units, but also all techs, nanochips, remnants, crystals, bunkers, capsule pods, and yes, holocubes. But unlike bunkers and survival pods, destroying a holocube doesn't lead to immediate mission failure. So in practice, ending and winning the mission comes with manually destroying the nexuses on the map. Or is it Nexi? We can now effectively finish the mission, but I'm not going to do that just yet. We can still rake in over 20,000 mission points worth of bonus crystals, and I'm going to show you how to obtain them. It's an incredibly cumbersome and tedious part of the mission, but the reward is worth it if you're in it for the high score. It involves those 2 idle drone gates I've mentioned before, one of which has now spawned some immobile drones. If you look through the terrain, you'll see that the solid blocks adjacent to the drone gates are stocked with anti-creeper. A drone blast in the vicinity can remove this anti-creeper, even if it's hidden in a block. What this means is that if you've blasted enough drones, you can rid the blocks of sufficient anti-creepers so that the Dig Packet Gateway can start breaking away the walls and releasing the crystals. If you're curious to know, by the way, why these drones haven't spawned before, it has to do with the limitations of the game. At any given time during any Creeper World 2 mission, there can only be a maximum total of 200 drones on the map. If this number is reached, then any drone gateway will simply stop releasing new drones. Instead, the game queues these drones, if you will. They will only spawn if the amount of drones on the map falls below the threshold. The two gateways in question have been set to release a pack of 150 drones at once, which means that the gateways remain idle until the total amount of drones on the map falls below 50. At no earlier point in the game has this been the case, which is why the drones never spawned before taking on the bottom left section. This last optional part of the mission consists of constantly weighing off Creeper versus Anti-Creeper, providing the Dig Packet Gateway with the ability to clear the next block, juggling with the positions of Anti-Creeper makers, shields, micro-rifts, etc. As I said, it's tedious, but worth it if you're in it for the true ending. Also here, the bonus crystals can be obtained much faster than I am getting them in this playthrough. The thing is, while I was playing this is pre-recorded, I had already been recording for over 5 hours straight, given the fact that I stumbled right at the end of the mission on various occasions, having to restart the mission and the recording session all over. So I just couldn't be bothered taking too many risks, and I took it slow and easy on this final part. Alrighty, we've freed up all the crystals. Now it's time to pay some really close attention one last time and finish the mission. The only Nexus that you'll be able to hit with the Dark Beam is the one that's charged up to 99.9%. In order to reach it, you'll need to hit it with the top left beam. However, since all Nexuses will simultaneously explode when you destroy any one of them, that means that the top right corner where you started off is the only safe place to put the Liberation Ship when that happens. So, in order to guide the top beam towards the Nexus, we first need to free up a few Dark Mirrors. To do that, we need to enable the bottom right Dark Beam again and fire it at the remaining drone gate. Then, we swap that out for the other beam. That's because if you move the liberation ship, the rightmost bottom beam will be left in the dark without the ability to supply it. Then, we'll need to relocate the beacon one last time. But, in order to do that, we'll need to position the dark mirrors first. Otherwise, we can't maneuver them anymore because they'll be in the dark. See, I messed it up too. Dark beam on, mirrors in position, and now we wait until the creeper threat from the drones briefly subsides. There, that's our window. Now I rebuild the maxed out beacon in a spot where it'll be able to supply these two beams. And we can now put the liberation ship in its safe spot and finally take out the Nexus. Get ready for annihilation in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes! I knew you could do it! For the 8th time, you've emerged victorious. I congratulate you from the bottom of my heart. The road has been tough, but you have prevailed. You are a tough-to-beat opponent. I dare say, invincible. I humbly kneel before you. I hope this quest has brought you satisfaction. Rest now, soldier, and enjoy your well-deserved victory. Until we meet again. Tileset, Glass Fragile Tiles by MadMag, adapted. Background, Eilis14 by yours truly. And that's one way of getting through the mission. I encourage you to do better than I, and especially to try out other methods of making it through. I'm curious to see whether you can come up with something. And that's my score submission. And there's the map upload. I hope you had fun watching. See you soon, my friends. Bins out.